again on day 42 in the discussion of the core, right? We've gone through the entire core, body, being, balance, and business. We've discussed the scoring system for that. We've discussed the zones. We've discussed the power rating. We've discussed all of that. And today we're just going to hit on the final thoughts, the things that can fuck this whole game up, right? And they have for me. Don't try to catch up. Like this is like probably one of the biggest takeaways, right? That's what we do. We get ourselves behind on an issue and we try to catch up, right? We miss a day or two and we're like 4 points behind. Day one, we're 4 points, and pretty soon we have 12 points, right? On the day when we're coming out of a bit of a funk, maybe, then all of a sudden we have this big, huge pile that we have to overcome, right? We don't want to do that, right? We want to pick up where we left off. We don't try to catch up. We can't catch up. We can't reclaim yesterday. We can't redo yesterday. We can't do it, right? All we want to do, and our focus really needs to be, is doing it right today, right? So the game is we are not going to try to catch up once we miss something. Number two, super important, like let's just keep it simple, right? Like as simple as this is, body, being, balance, business, and the items of the core four, like I try to supercharge this myself, right? Like we try to create this, like this is too simple, like this is too simple, like this isn't me, like I am like a mega achiever, I can do better than this, right? So what you do is you create a system, or what I've done is create a system, and before you know it, it is super complicated and it's undoing, right? We want to keep this is a basic tool. This is a kind of the leg, for the living the warrior's way, the four-dimensional man, right? And this isn't the whole life, right? So the object, once again, is to keep this super simple. Avoid the temptation to complicate it, to make it supercharged, to make it something other than the basic and the simplicity that makes it very workable. Okay, number four, core four. Core four is not your master, right? This isn't a checklist. This isn't a checklist that we want to do. This isn't an assignment, right? That's not the object. It's a way to the end, right? It's a path, right? It's not like the goal is to do the core four. Like that's not the end game, right? It's just a path to the end game, which is power and power to create and have what we want in our life. Okay, so in setting new targets and adjusting for new targets, we want to be able to do that within our core four. It gives us the opportunity to make these adjustments. And part of the reason we do the matrix in as far as power rating and zone. In the end, like how do you find out? Like we're all a little different. How do you do it? Test, 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 test. Right? We need to keep track of the matrix. We need to try it. Like I had I have little statements with all my kids. Some little saying that I kind of gifted them for life, and one of them is to my daughter Hannah. Right? She was one that hesitated to do this. I'd say, okay, let's go do this, and she's like, well, what if this happens? What if we live in a rural area, we can do things pretty much as we see fit or not fit. A lot of times that happens. But it's like, what happens if we crash? What happens if we push the pedal? What happens if we do this? What happens if we do that? And my gift to her was an answer to every question that she comes up with in her own mind. And the answer to that is, let's find out. That's the saying. I engraved it on a plaque and I gave it to her. Let's find out. Because that was her. I've got a gift like that for all my kids. And that was hers, right? The answer is test, test, test. Don't theorize. Don't play around the game. Like check it, test it, and let's find out. The core four, and again, this is just the weapon of power, right? We need to know how to use the weapon. We have this tool, but if we don't maximize the tool, if we don't understand the tool, if we don't utilize the tool, if we don't keep track of the tool, if you're going to sight in your gun, part of the game is you need to keep track of where you shoot, right? And this whole situation, where we've gone through the foundation, the core, the stack, and the code, we want to be able to use that to our benefit. So in that combination of each of those, we want to test, 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 test. Right. So from there, in summary, once again, of this entire matter is of the core four. And on the final date, we just want to reiterate the idea of keeping it simple. It needs to say simple, like resist the temptation to complicate this. This is not a test of endurance or don't try to improve it, right? We want to make the adjustment to customize it to us, but we don't want to change its simplicity because it won't get done consistently, right? So in the end, the assignment is to go ahead and teach this. If you can't teach it, you don't know it. If you don't know it, you can't live it. And follow through on the other items listed at the bottom of this page, and we will talk to you tomorrow in week or day 43.